Hello. Today we have Kseniya Ponomareva with us. Kseniya has been the business development manager at EMedSupport for the past year. EMedSupport has offices in Cyprus and the UAE, and they focus on clinical decision support for the cardiovascular space. Specifically, they focus on cardiovascular disease prevention and treatment, and they do that through AI-enabled analysis of clinical data. Prior to this, Kseniya was the product manager at Sanofi. Kseniya moved to the UAE 2 years ago, and as such, we had the chance to talk about how others not familiar with the region can come and explore it, what it takes to start developing solutions in that region, and the pathways to regulatory approval over there. Kseniya has spent the majority of her career working in the cardiovascular space, and it's fascinating to hear her talk about evidence-based medicine and how she hopes to bring that to the Middle Eastern market and beyond in the near future. Hope you all enjoy this one. Hi Kseniya, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me today. Hello.
Yeah, very excited to have you today. Obviously, we've had the chance to speak about a week ago. You actually attended the first Scalpels and Spreadsheets event, and we had the chance to meet at that time. But very excited to talk to you about your work and your move to Dubai and just your experiences to date. So, do you want to kick this off and just tell the audience a bit about yourself?
Sure. So first of all, thank you again for inviting me here. I'm also very excited to have a conversation today. About my background, briefly speaking, I have been working in a medical field, closely to a medical field for almost all my career. However, I'm not a physician or pharmacologist. I'm a business person. I have a degree in economics, but I was very lucky to find my passion, which is not my specialization. So I have been working the most of the time in a big pharma company, and now I'm in health tech.
Great. And what was your journey towards getting to health tech? What was it that you've worked on in the past?
So before health tech, I have been a product manager in Sanofi. It is a big pharma company from Europe, from France, and I started my journey there very young and grew up as a specialist there. And I was a product manager and in cardiovascular field. And I learned a lot about cardiology and a lot about medicine because we had a strong medical team and which I was working very closely. And I learned a lot about how real business works, how the big company works and corporations actually. And the most interesting part, I think, was on how business leverages this patient-centric approach and also still being profitable and working as a business. And also for me, it was a great experience of seeing how can be the high quality standard of work and of corporate culture. And I think I've learned a lot from that experience and now implementing this in my current project as well.
hmm What goes into being a product manager? So obviously we hear a lot about that kind of a role. Is that more, on the development side? Would this be for different assets that are already developed in the market? How does that really work?
It's a very interesting question because definitely product manager and project manager roles are very common now, and in different industries it can be something different. So in pharmaceutical industry, it is actually being in charge of a product, and I think from my personal opinion that it is the most interesting role in the company, one of the most interesting roles, because your job is to connect everything, to make the product work and to deliver it to the end customer. And that is why I was connecting everything from developing the product and R&D and the pipeline and supply chain and connecting it with the sales team and strategy. And I think it gives you a helicopter view on what's going on. And my main job was to create a strategy and to execute it with delivering it to every single part of the team that we have, all the teams that we have in the company.
So it seems like you learned a lot about how to manage a team and get a product from, early stages of development all the way to the launch. And you focus your time in the cardiovascular space, you said.
Yes, definitely. And about the product, I think I had a great experience of working with launch products, very innovative and new to market, and also with mature products. And it is also quite interesting to have experience on both sides.
Hmm. So you're obviously, now living in Dubai. You are leading a different project now. What is it that you're doing now?
So I moved to Dubai and was searching for a new project. And I got connected with a project named EMedSupport. The project was initiated back in Russia, where I'm from originally, and the guys were thinking about going launching in different countries, and they wanted to launch a separate a new company in Europe, in Dubai, and so in different locations. And one of my colleagues who was working with them back in Russia, because they are also working with pharmaceutical industry, they just recommended them to connect with me because I've moved here and I had some overview of what's going on here and I could help them to launch. And I think it was great that they decided to reach out to me because it was an instant match, and just in one day we understood that we really like to work together because I saw that I loved the product from the first sight because I was working with cardiovascular industry and the health tech product that they are providing is also in cardiovascular, and it closes the gaps that I was seeing in the real clinical practice. That physicians who was working with my products and the patients that I target, they were facing especially these issues, and I was excited about helping them to launch and grow here.
Hmm. We'll definitely get to EMedSupport and their products in a minute. Did you consider any other areas in healthcare in the Middle East or the UAE? Did you see any other opportunities? I'm curious why you decided to, essentially leave pharmaceuticals and go into health tech. Or was
Yeah,
this an area that you were just interested in long term?
it's interesting because I was not sure if I really want to move for pharmaceutical industry because it was something that I knew very well how it works, and I saw that I have a potential here to also to develop as a professional here in this industry. But I also was thinking that I like the digital part of work in the pharma. So when I was a product manager, I also was involved quite a lot in different initiative that we had in terms of the innovation and digitalization. However, it works not so fast in the pharmaceutical industry. We see a lot of digitalization and innovation and high-tech technology happening in different industries, and pharma and healthcare sometimes are not moving so fast in these terms. And I was thinking about moving to tech actually in general, but I was quite lucky to find something that unites healthcare and technology, and I got that.
Hmm. There's a lot of different developments that are happening in the tech space, and I think EMedSupport is probably one of the most innovative companies I've seen come out of that region. Do you want to tell me a bit more about what EMedSupport does right now?
Sure. So this is a product, a technology that was developing for a couple of years. So it's quite a complex system, and basically it is a clinical decision support in cardiology, and it analyzes clinical data from electronic health records like lab tests and different examinations that the patient went through, and unites all of the data in analytical reports and dashboards, so the clinics management, public health care providers, public health care authorities and physicians, anyone involved in the treatment of the patient, they can see a helicopter view of the patients achieving or not achieving their treatment goals, of their risks, cardiovascular risks, of their prognosis, and of the next steps that can be done to manage these patients proactively. So actually it is a data-driven approach to treating chronic cardiovascular patients.
So it's essentially a visualization tool, but also a tool for decision support that's comprehensive, right? Like it looks into the risks it looks into the current treatment. It'll look into the future goals and the plans long term as well. Are you
Yeah.
focused across cardiovascular as a
Yes.
therapeutic area, or are there areas that are more pressing and just higher need?
I think so. Now we're focusing only on cardiovascular, but for sure we want to expand to other disease areas. Why cardiovascular? Because it is number one cause of mortality in many countries all over the world, and I think we all know that there are high-tech interventional methods that we're using. However, the gap is still existing, and people die from these diseases. And in majority of cases, it also can be because of the chronic conditions that they have, and we are not treating them properly usually. And many patients, for example, with dyslipidemia, they receive some treatment, for example, statins, but still they are not achieving their treatment goals and they just live with it. So they are not changing the treatment, not upgrading it, and the quality of their life, first of all, is not this perfect, and secondly, they just have higher risks of events, and exactly this I was seeing when I was working with cardiovascular medication products, and we saw that we have great products that can make patients achieving their treatment goals and save 10 years of life for some patients or something like that. However, sometimes they was not getting the dosages that they need or maybe combinations that they need. And when I saw the technology that actually highlights it for you, that you have a gaps in care, you have patients who are not diagnosed properly or treated properly, you just focus on these patients and you can solve the problem.
How long has EMedSupport been running now, and which countries, which markets are you targeting initially?
So the company, when I haven't been with them yet, they were working in Russia. So now the company that is existing there, they already are more mature. So they cover many clinics and 270,000 of patients already they analyze each year. But our international company that we have launched is quite young, so it is on the initial stage. So we already have a product ready for market. However, we are on the stage of the piloting it and launching our first contracts and pilots. And we have our headquarters in Cyprus, in the European Union. And our first market where we are going to operate is the UAE and the Middle East market.
Any reasons why the Middle East is being targeted initially? I'm just curious, like when you're looking at the pilot, obviously you need a lot of data for testing out whether this pilot works, but you also need physicians and hospitals that are willing for this change or, just to try something new. Can you talk a bit more about why the decision was made for the Middle East?
Sure. Yeah, I think for sure we were exploring different opportunities, but we stand with the Middle East because the country is specifically the UAE and other countries in the region are very mature in terms of the digitalization of health records and of exchange of health information between different facilities, for example. And also, the region is very encouraged by leveraging new technologies, and it is also a very great opportunity. Major players from US and Europe are also existing here, and if you launch here and partner with them, it is also your way to launch in different countries after you establish something here and prove how it works.
In many ways, you can see the Middle East healthcare system kind of to be in its infancy, yet when I was there last week, it attracted the attention of so many people from different parts of the world, whether that was physicians or hospital group owners or investors, and obviously, different startups as well. So there's a lot that's happening over there. And to your point, yes, I think the Middle East and the UAE in particular, they're focused so much on digital health, first starting off by getting healthcare access to everyone through telemedicine, then focus on the actual patient records and making sure that that's digitalized and keeping the patients in the center of it. And they're obviously looking to grow from there. I think there's also instances of different countries providing incentives for startups to innovate in those countries. So it's good to see that your company is actually trying to make the most of that. Sania, I was curious to know, how do you define or what's your take on evidence-based medicine?
Sure. So I think here I can share some thoughts, not being a healthcare provider or healthcare specialist, so just from a side.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it may be more on how the system works with the evidence-based medicine. And I think on different levels, it is for healthcare providers, it is more about quality of care that they are providing. So being sure that the care that you provide is not based on the habit of a doctor who was prescribing a product or medicine for 10 years or 20 years already. So that is aligned with clinical guidelines and recent research, and also about not being treating patients like it is in tradition or intuition of physicians. I think for patients it is more about value-based healthcare that we are talking about now on every event and every conference that is taking place, because it's really great approach in terms of being patient-centric. And the patient may be sure that the treatments that he or she gets is the most suitable for her or him, and very personalized and tailored, and it is the best that he or she can get. And
Mm-hmm.
I think for the system as a whole, it is about better outcomes and cost effectiveness, because when you treat patients properly, you get more healthy population, and it's cost effective.
Mm-hmm. I really liked one of the things that you said, get the physician's habits out of there. So you're looking at, your definition of evidence-based medicine is just a very standardized way of treating a patient from, point A to point B. And if something is going wrong, if there are complications, there would be a clear-cut way on how to actually get that patient back to full health and therefore reduce the costs.
Yeah, for sure. Here I'm on a physician side. I mean, I'm with physicians because I understand how complex it is to be a physician. And for me, it's something unbelievable, the most complex and important job in the world. However, being for many years being a product manager in big pharma, I see that and launching a new products to the market, I understand it. It was my pain for many years, some inertia that exists, and for sure I understand that it is just a human factor, and they are doing best of what they can. But I think now, being on the side of a health tech, it is my job to help them to cope with
Mm-hmm.
everything that is existing, and move towards evidence-based medicine.
Absolutely. You know, if you had to think of ways or reasons why the uptake of health tech solutions so far have been relatively slow from the physician's point of view, from the hospital's point of view, what are some of the biggest barriers?
I think for sure regulatory issues are one of the most high barriers for health tech solutions. And I think from my experience in Europe, it is more complex than in the Middle East to overcome these barriers. And you need really lots of investment and lots of time to launch actually something. But sometimes it's just not effective because you have something that can change the situation immediately right now, but you just wait until it is um, proven. And it can be also like a painful for being in this situation. So I understand why the healthcare providers are doing this, and I see that in some countries it is changing, and this fear of new technologies is being overcoming, and I think with each step, it makes it easier and easier to adopt new technologies because, you know, like always we were seeing that many hospitals and many healthcare providers, they are very proud of high-tech interventional methods that they're using, and they were always publishing maybe articles or some information on their website that we are the first to use this method to treat this acute patient, or we conduct more of the these procedures than other hospitals in the region. And I think it is some kind of a race and some kind of a competition with them from this clinical part. And I love that adoption of innovative technologies is also becoming like this story for them. And I see it in the Middle East. Maybe in Europe it is just starting, but here in the Middle East they are very competitive with each other, and the countries are competitive to each other in terms of the innovation. Everyone wants to be first in something, and every hospital also wants to be first and the most innovative in the country. And because people have health insurance from their work here, and they can decide which healthcare provider to choose. And when they see lots of information that someone is number one in different fields, they can choose this healthcare provider. So I believe that this, when we overcome these barriers step by step of adoption of new technologies, it becomes easier and easier because they become hungry of starting something and being first in something. And if you have a good idea, they will be fighting to get your idea to implement it first.
Hmm. A lot of interesting points over there, you know, about the competition within the countries to between the countries in the Middle East, and the fact that they're promoting that innovation as well. Given that in mind, you know, could you walk me through what the regulatory process looks like right now in the Middle East? Let's say, you know, I wanted to start the next big data company. You know, what is it? What's the process looking like? What do I need first, and how do I get through to that regulatory approval?
Okay, from my point of view, here there is no unique way, like the way is unique for every solution here in the Middle East. So I think there is no universal solution for everyone how you should make something. Um, I think here it is very important to be deep in the market and talk with your clients. Even if you are not so ready to implement it, you should go to them and see what they think about it and how they react, what they want. And it is always about you finding the best way for your specific solution to work here. And I understand, for example, that when we are preparing to launch in Europe, for sure there is a standard way for us. We are preparing a clinical trial, a multi-central clinical trial, best if it will involve hospitals from different countries. We execute it. We have European Medical Agency approval. Then we start with a pilot with one of the clinics which we were conducting a trial, for example, and then we go to market. So here it may have this structure, but sometimes just not. And you just need to be, I think, one of the most important things is that you need to be here, and it's very hard to launch something in the Middle East from a side, not being present here, because the competition here is growing steadily, and everyone who is very fast and smart can win. And this is very important to be
Hmm.
on the place.
So it seems like there's no one size fits all in the Middle East. Um, when you're saying, you know, there's no one size fits all, you should be in the country. Is there a specific agency or specific type of person that you should be talking to over there? You know, what helps someone that wants to build something in the Middle East actually get their product to market?
Mhm. I think you need connections, and I was always hearing about the culture of Arab countries, for example, that connections and family and friends are very important to people here. But I was not realizing how much is it real? And when I got here, we were thinking that we need a couple of months to study the market and start a pilot. But it is for us, it appeared not to be like this. So we spent 1 year, and we became really mature in terms of our connections and networking here, and advisory board here, and the startup ecosystem, to being involved in the startup ecosystem here. And after that, after we got all of these dots connected, after we got to be involved with any one of our target clients, we managed to make our value proposition the perfect fit for them, and start first pilots and launch first contracts here.
Hmm. And what if you have, you're already approved to go to market in another country, let's say in the European Union, let's say in the US or any other country? Does that have any meaning, or, does that have any advantage if you want to scale that to the Middle East? Have you seen any examples of companies doing that?
Definitely, I think for sure some of the points that gets it easier for you being approved, having traction, and these are 2 points that may help you significantly, because anyone wants a solution that is already working, and you just need to implement it. And it is harder to trust someone and to trust in the solution when you don't see real life results somewhere. And I think, it makes it easier much.
Hmm. So, are any of the foreign accreditations, let's say the CE mark from Europe, are any of those valid in the Middle East? Are you aware of that?
Yeah. So if you want, for example, when we are talking about our product and the validation that we want to get, it will be either European medical certification, or it will be FDA. So all the European and American approvals, they are quite valid here. And because the UAE, for example, they have a very good connection and bonds that they're building with other countries. And if you have validation somewhere, it is also quite important. However, for sure, there are local authorities, and but it will be much easier to get an approval if you have a referring document, for example, from Europe,
Hmm.
and you will just show it and fill in your file, and it will be much easier to get an approval here. And usually, I think that this border of being used without approval is lower here than in Europe. So I understand that there is no clinic in Europe that is going to implement something without any research. But here, you can find a clinic who will be ready to conduct your first research with them, because of this growing competition and adoption of innovation.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really good to hear. I wanted to shift gears a little bit and talk about your role right now with EMedSupport. So you're the business development manager, and you're in charge of the Middle Eastern region, and I believe Europe as well. Can you talk to me about what your day to day looks like? What kind of work is it that you're doing right now?
Sure. I think my work is quite exciting here because I love everything about strategy, and I was a product manager. So, and here my role now is to launch actually a product in the UAE first of all, and then scale it in other countries here in the Middle East and in Europe. And this consists of two major jobs here: to actually find clients and to find investors, because as a startup, for sure, we need funding to operate. And briefly speaking, it is my two major parts of the job. And talking about the day-to-day role, it consists of meeting with the potential clients, and engaging in many events that are happening across the region, and hearing about the pains that healthcare providers have. So I need to understand everything that is happening with them, what problems that they're facing, and how we can support them in their journey. And also many things about fundraising as well. So meeting investors and pitching and many things.
So every startup should probably get a business development manager, it seems.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, my role is quite so. We invented on how my role is going to be called when I was in the team already. So when you have a startup on an early stage, you don't have so many people in the team yet, and you sometimes need to have many jobs done by a single person. And when you are growing, definitely it may be something else. And in some cases, founders are more about these doing all these things. But here we have a privilege of having me on board as well. And founders are working also on these goals with me, and we all have our strengths and bring to the team specific experience that we have a background. For example, one of the founders is a cardiologist, and he develops this startup from his point of view, and he brings this business development part in terms of scientific society here and the society of physicians which is existing in the country. And I'm usually more about this business part.
So it seems like a good mix of you working on the strategy and then you actually having the technical knowledge that's needed in the founding team as well.
I want to add that from what I have seen, it is quite important for a health tech startup to have on board not only tech team and business team, but also clinical team, because it makes your product, and it will be better if they are taking part in development of the product actually, because it makes your product solving real clinical practice challenges and not just being something that you will struggle then to find a market fit.
One more thing I would add to that is it also helps with that business development, right? Like having those credentials on your team when you're talking about why us, right? Like why should our product actually have a spot in your hospital if you're trying to reach out to someone. Just having those credentials go a long way to just gain that trust of the hospital, of that physician, that hey, this company will probably know what they're talking about and they are probably a good bet to try something with, right?
Definitely, yes, and it is also gives you an opportunity to talk with your clients on the same language, because for sure I understand clinicians and cardiologists because I was working with them closely for all my career. However, still I'm not a cardiologist, but it is very in a psychological way, it's very nice to talk to someone who can understand you well.
It just takes that connection one step ahead.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah. So Kseniya, you've been living in Dubai, I think, for about a year now, or maybe a little above a year. And you spoke a little bit about the competition that exists for, getting different things to the market. How are you seeing the startup ecosystem in Dubai specifically?
So, yeah, I've been in Dubai like almost 2 years, and 1 year already I'm in health tech here. And I think that it is very important that when you start a startup here, you need to be in the ecosystem, because you will know so much more information and insights, and you will skip the part of many mistakes that you are going to make, because you will hear it from people who made some part of this journey already. And I think the startup ecosystem is here very friendly in terms of sharing and guiding you on your journey. And I love it about here that you always have a community of people. And honestly, it's so many events, startup events happening here, that you just can't be everywhere because it's too much for a single person. And I think one of the interesting parts that everyone is very focused on Dubai actually. However, I would recommend anyone who is thinking about launching in the Middle East market consider also other cities here. because they also have great opportunities there, and they are starting great programs for startups and great support, including government support and outreach to target clients, outreach to investors. And I would consider to also think about Sharjah, Abu Dhabi, Riyadh, and Qatar, because they're also launching many programs, and competition sometimes is not so strong there. So I would recommend consider it.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And do you have any more advice for someone that wants to learn about the Middle East? Like you living there, you've heard about these opportunities in Riyadh and Qatar, Abu Dhabi, and so forth. What's the best way for someone to learn about that region right now?
I think the best way is to find a chance to come at once, at least. So maybe find a conference that you are interested in, and when you come, try to make as much connections as you can, and try to make it to many side events, because the life is really happening there, and you will have a chance to exactly get to this boiling pot that I was talking about, and see the insights of people who is already in this market. And many of the startups which are already existing here, they are trying to launch in other countries, or they are successful maybe already in that, and you will have great insight from them. So many things that we have learned about launching in Saudi Arabia, for example, we know from fellow startups who are launching there, and from our trips to Riyadh, like we had just a couple of them yet, but it really gives you an opportunity to understand on what's going on there.
hmm What's next for you and EMedSupport over the next 12 months? Where can we expect to see you this time next year?
So I think we already started this topic talking about other countries of Middle East, and exactly it is my main target for the next year. So now we are launching here in Dubai, and expanding to other Emirates as well. And our next stop is launching in Saudi Arabia and Qatar, also Oman, and other countries of Gulf. And next year, I'm hoping that we will be working more actively with Europe, because now we want to start our journey of obtaining European Medical Agency certifications to develop the product on the next level, to integrate the product of the next level, so the physicians will be able to use it while the patients are with them in real time. And for that, we for sure need a certification as a medical device. And hopefully, in the next year, if we meet with you and talk, I will be at that moment launching the product in Europe already, and it will be already available in Saudi Arabia and other MENA region countries.
I really hope to see that.
Thank you, and I also hope that you will try yourself here in the market as well, because I think you have great ideas on what you can do, and I think it's a great opportunity here.
Oh, absolutely. That trip I took last week was so eye-opening. Being in Canada and the US right now, you hear a lot about what's happening, in the Gulf regions, but it's so different to still what I actually saw in person. The conference I attended, just having the speakers talk about some of the work that they're doing in that region, it's just astonishing, the scale of the work that's actually being done over there. I
Yeah,
wanted to ask you, what's the best way for the audience to reach out to you if they have any questions about anything you spoke about today?
sure. I will be happy if someone wants to address me any questions, or maybe advice, or just wants to reach out to me to network. You can always find me in LinkedIn, and I'm very responsive there. So please don't hesitate to do that.
hmm Yeah, well, thank you so much for joining today. It was really nice catching up with you today, and having the chance to speak to you multiple times this month, and actually seeing you, a couple of, the last week as well. But I really enjoyed the conversation. I think the audience will really like just hearing about your stories of the Middle East and the opportunities out there, and how it's similar yet different to what you've seen in Europe as well.
Great, thank you so much, Emma. I also was very enjoying the conversation with you, and I hope people who will listen to that will have some insights as well. And yeah, I'm also looking forward of you coming the next time and seeing again.
Oh, absolutely.